So we've seen free agency unfold a little bit. We know the Niners are clearly set at quarterback and maybe safety. What do you think they should do at 11, given what they've done in free agency so far?
Okay. So this is my dilemma. I truly believe the Niners should go defensive line with the pick at 11. Okay? Full stop.
Yeah.
However, I do believe that this is a very deep defensive line draft. Okay?
That it is.
All right? So the value at 11 is not really BPA if you pick up a D tackle, unless you get, in my opinion, Mason Graham or Kenneth Grant at 11th. All right? Now, I'm not a big fan of Mason Grant.
Me neither.
Right? I don't think he's 11th overall. Kenneth Grant will be an amazing pick at 11th. He fills a hole. He's special, but he's not a difference maker. He does not take over games, in my opinion. Okay? All right? It's hard for us to replicate what a Kenneth Grant can do when he's got a Mason Graham next to him. All right? Walter Nolan has fallen for me due to skill set issues. He's a tweener at 290 pounds and 6'3", and and skill set wise, he's a little undisciplined. Okay, so he needs some time. For me, all of those guys have something better than what you would see in a Derek Harmon and a Talik Williams out of Oregon and Ohio State. But again, the issue for them is at 11, Grant. That's not high. That's too high. Now, I want to talk to you about draft position. I love the fact that we're at the 11th position in the draft. It takes us one spot outside of top 10. It allows us to look at the first 10 picks of each draft to figure out what position groups are being depleted and what we can go after for BPA versus what we need. So I don't want to trade back in the draft because I'm afraid that we're going to put ourselves in a position where we're giving up an advantageous draft positioning in the rounds.
Sure.
For me, I would go with the next player, which offensive line for me, I'm not drafting anybody at 11 that can't play right away. All right. And that doesn't mean that I go get a Will Campbell at tackle and stick him in that guard. Okay. And wait for Trent Williams to leave just to have a left tackle replacement. I'm not in on that either. So I'm not in on a tackle right now because there's only one tackle, in my opinion, that deserves to be drafted at 11. That's Mimbu. All right. Yeah. Outside of that, you can get guys lower. So that takes me to defensive for linebacker, Jahad Campbell, out of Alabama, 6'3", 250 pounds, 4.5 40. This is my guy. Jahad Campbell out of Alabama. He's coming in as a sophomore. All right. And he came in as a converted wide receiver and edge coming out of New Jersey. Played a couple of years out of New Jersey, went down to IMG and tore it up. Came in at Alabama as an edge and started right away. All right. Not only did he start right away, but they wanted to keep him on the field because he was a little bit undersized for rushing the edge, even though he had good production early on when he was at Alabama. They moved him to Sam. He goes to linebacker, and it comes to find out that he's even more explosive on his feet. These are some of his strengths. Explosive first step, jumps right out of the tape. All right. He has coverage instincts, all right, that I believe that are advanced for a converted edge player, but he can get better. All right. One thing about him is that he does have a couple of picks. Go back to the University of Georgia game, the LSU game. That's a couple of picks that he had. One thing that I love about him is that he is physical. He brings serious pop as a tackler, closes on a lot of defenders, plays behind the line of scrimmage. Also, he's multifaceted and he's elite. All right. So it's not like he's a master of trades where he has all of these different assets under him and he's only good at one thing. This guy can put his hand in the dirt and rush the passer naturally. Okay. This guy can sit up at the edge and get off the line and play hook to curl and curl to flat naturally. All right. He's got closing speed he just clocked in at a 4.540 in the combine. For context, Fred Warner ran a 4.68. Dre Greenlaw ran a 4.7 and Aziz ran a 4.7 coming out of the combine. This kid is showing serious athleticism for what he does. Also, the thing about him is that I love is that we don't necessarily have with our linebackers, and we've seen that Fred has struggled with this, is that he's a natural blitzer. Fred isn't necessarily that good. We don't necessarily have linebackers that are naturally as good at blitzing the passer. One thing that I love about him is that not only can he play the Sam, but he's a stopgap again for life after Fred. This is somebody that is going to be a plus player for us. We need speed. We need somebody that can play right away. And also the tread on him, he's got so much tread on his tires. He just turned 21 in February. So he's a baby. You know what I'm saying? The ceiling on him is very high. I like him at 11. And he's the best linebacker in this year's draft. He would have been drafted first round last year, but he's the best linebacker in this year's draft by far. It's the best value that you're going to get for drafting the first player out of any position group outside of quarterback in this year's draft.
I like him. I like him very much. You made a great case for him. At this point, it's early. Maybe I'll end up wanting to draft him. He's not my pick at this point. And I think the reason isn't that there's anything wrong with him, but one, I think they have bigger needs. And two, I like D. Winters. And I think that D. Winters actually could be a good starter for the 49ers if he had some good run stoppers in front of him and he could focus on running and hitting. Because to me, he looks very fast and very violent. And I think it's a shame that he didn't get more snaps last year because of freaking Devondre Campbell sensitive self. But I just wanted to say I actually like D. Winters. I think he's intriguing like Malik Mustafa. I think he brings a lot of speed and violence to the table. And he's been developed by Johnny Holland. And anyway, I like Jihad Campbell. Is that his name?
Jihad Campbell. Yeah. He's not a war
name too. Yeah. If he's the pick, I like it. If I were making the pick, though, I think I'm leaning towards Kenneth Grant. You like him. To me, like all the things you said about Campbell, like same about Grant. To me, he's the best wide 9 D tackle in the draft. And what I mean by wide 9 D tackle, I think like I like Mason Graham and Walter Nolan, but I think they would look like Javon Hargrave on the 49ers. They would be moved around in the run game and their pass rush would be not really, it wouldn't offset what a liability they are against the run. And Kenneth Grant is never going to be a liability against the run in any front. And I think he has the athleticism to actually be on the field on third down and push the pocket and do more than just take up space. I like him a lot. Yeah. And he's young. He's super young.
Yeah. Now, one thing that I will say is that because of Kenneth Grant, I love him, right? And I wouldn't be mad at 11, but it would just seem way too much of an insurance pick than it would be like a splash, like a generational player. If you think you can get a generational player, let alone for a need, you go get that player, right?
Let me say one more thing about Grant before I forget. I think a big reason that like he's not considered a top 15 prospect right now is because he hasn't run at the pro day yet. He didn't run at the combine. Like no one thought about Armand Membu as being a top 5 pick until he ran that 40. And everyone's like, oh shit, this guy's incredible. What an athlete. Like if Kenneth Grant goes to his pro day and runs a 4.9 at 335
he's going to run a 4.9.
Like, oh, right. He's an incredible athlete. And I think he might do that. If he doesn't, I'll say I was wrong. But I'm thinking his stock's going to go up pretty soon.
My only thing about him is that Kenneth Grant, I just kind of feel like he's a smaller player with a lot of weight on him. Okay. He's not naturally big. He's 6'4", I give it to you, but he played at 360 pounds. You know what I mean? Like, that's a really big for the NFL game. And I understand that this kid is massively athletic as far as, like, he's going to run that 4.9. I know he is. I've seen him run down tacklers from behind. You don't move like that unless you can move sub 5, right? So
the question is he Jordan Davis, who you don't want, or is he Dexter Lawrence, who you absolutely do want? It's a tough one. I don't know. Yeah.
Right. My issue is it in his bones, or are we looking at really an overweight edge that hasn't come into his body yet? And then once he starts losing some weight, because of the speed of the game, and he trims down to about 320 or 310, right, to be able to keep up with the game. Does he get moved around? My only thing about him is that I just look for certain measurables in a big man.
Terrible on the bench, which was strange.
22 reps. That's what I was going to say.
So
22 reps on the bench lets me know that you don't really have a core. I'm sorry. And those are the things that worry me when you look at big men where it's like, God, he's got a lot of athleticism to him. And you're thinking that you're going to forecast like, well, God, once we give him some good technique, he's really going to take off. But a lot of it is that he's kind of getting away with the level of play of the guys he's going against. He's playing with very good players, but the game hasn't really chiseled him down into his man body, and he may lose weight. Look at Aaron Banks. Aaron Banks has way too much weight on his body, and because of it, what happens? He's constantly injured, right?
True. Yeah.
Right. So I think he's a smaller man in a bigger body. That's what I think Aaron Banks is, and that's my worry about Kenneth Grant.
Fair enough. I'm not all in on Kenneth Grant, and I change my opinion about once a week, but that's the guy I'm looking at because I feel like defensive line is the biggest need, and defensive tackle is the harder position to fill in the wide nine because it's just such a hard freaking position to play, and that's why I wouldn't use that front. But Robert Saleh's here, and he's really smart, and he knows what to do with it. I'm trying to think what he's going to do.